Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I'm Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, what movie are we doing today?
One of my absolute favorite movies from the year 2000 with Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Best Picture winner. Best Actor as well by Ridley Scott.
Fantastic movie.
Fantastic.
Love this movie. And I think the first time that I saw it is the same situation as the first time you saw it, I'm guessing, when it came out. Because we were both in, you were a year ahead of me in high school, but we were both in Latin class.
Same Latin class.
And Mr. Driscoll, our Latin teacher, offered extra credit to anybody who saw the movie and brought their ticket stub in to class and showed him. And so I went and saw it and then took my ticket stub in and got extra credit the next day. So I'm guessing that's probably the first time you saw it, too.
Yes. I saw it with my dad and my uncle and my brother, I think. And I wanted to see it anyway. And the fact that I could see a movie I wanted to see, get extra credit for it. Especially a movie, a bloody action movie.
Exactly.
Come on.
I was going to see it anyway, too. And yeah, the extra credit was just the icing on the cake.
It wasn't like being asked to, go see Romeo plus Juliet.
William Shakespeare's Romeo plus Juliet. Full title.
I don't know. Why do I want to see DiCaprio?
That was a couple years earlier, though.
It was a couple years earlier, yeah.
But
that actually would have been, probably came out before we would have read that in class anyway.
Yep. My class watched it in ninth grade. My class watched it in my English class when we were reading.
I watched that in my ninth grade English class, too. But as I was when it came out, I was probably sixth grade or seventh grade or something like that.
Yeah.
Would have been just before I would have been reading it. So
yeah,
because that's like that classic ninth grade Shakespeare thing you read.
Yeah, you read Romeo and Juliet,
which is not even his best stuff.
And then you watch the DiCaprio and Claire Danes movie. Even though there's plenty of other versions of that movie. Plenty of other versions of that play.
Yes.
That have been made into movies. But it's always the DiCaprio and Claire Danes, William Shakespeare's Romeo plus Juliet.
Because, it is, Baz Luhrmann, and, it's weird because it, has all the Shakespearean language that takes place in the modern day. You got guns and
but it does have one thing, in addition to the modern day setting, that no other version of Romeo and Juliet has.
And what is that?
John Leguizamo.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll leave John Leguizamo at that. I could say more about him and some stuff recently about him, but that's harping about Italian plumbers. But.
Yep. He definitely played an Italian plumber, too. Oh, yeah.
I liked him in John Wick, a brief role. And then I think the last thing before that I saw him in was in The Happening. And
yeah, it's probably best just to forget that movie existed.
We probably will do. We'll do a Shyamalan movie one.
Oh yeah. I'm sure we will.
Two movies that definitely belong. Even the three, we could do. But
also that's the thing with this podcast. We don't have to just do good movies. We can do some stinkers too.
We could do House of the Dead.
We could.
We've talked about that.
It has been a long time since I've seen that movie.
A fun one to do.
Yep, it would be. Yep.
We could even go really crazy and get something I've never seen it, and it's an older movie now. What is that one? Stop or My Mom Will Shoot with
I saw
Stallone and Estelle Getty.
I saw that movie 30 years ago. And that was the only time I don't remember any of it except Estelle Getty holding a giant gun. It might not have been that giant of a gun, but it was giant for her.
Yes. You could recreate that movie today, and Sylvester Stallone could still play his character, and some other person could be the stand-in, and they just CGI Estelle Getty into it, and it would be a box office hit because the perfect day.
Yes. Now, do you know how Stallone ended up in that movie?
No.
It's because Arnold Schwarzenegger tricked him into being in it. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone were going through a little feud at the time.
Okay.
And so Arnold feigned interest in the movie and starring in it. And word got to Stallone that Arnold was going to be in it. So Stallone pushed to be in the movie. And Arnold had no intention of ever being in it because he read the script and he thought it was a terrible choice to be in it. So
yeah,
he pretended to be interested in it just so Stallone would be in it.
Hey. All right then.
And then they made the Expendables movies together. So they must have gotten over their feud.
They must have gone over it.
But yeah, back to Gladiator.
So funny thing about it, but yeah, so it was the extra credit, but I'd seen the trailer, it looked awesome, it's a Roman movie and fighting and war, and I think at that time.
And Russell Crowe in his heyday.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing, like Russell Crowe is just as he was getting big, and I'd seen the previous year he was in The Insider, which received an Oscar nomination for. I'd seen that already. Very different movie than Gladiator. And then the first time I had seen them was in LA Confidential back in 1997.
Another fantastic movie.
At that time, I would have been kind of unaware of some of the stuff he did in Australia before coming to the States. And, directed by Ridley Scott, at that time, again, I'm in high school, so I'm just kind of getting into kind of cinema, movies, and learning more about some of these directors and actors. And I had seen Alien, but, I couldn't tell you that Ridley Scott directed it before Gladiator came out. I'd heard of Blade Runner, hadn't seen Blade Runner yet at that point. I had heard of Thelma and Louise, also Ridley Scott, 1492, Conquest of Paradise, one of his most famous flops. I had heard of that. And, the movie he made before it, G.I. Jane. I had heard of that, right? Got all these different movies. Ridley Scott's career is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because the next two movies, three movies he makes after this, right? You have Hannibal, the sequel to Silence of the Lambs, Black Hawk Down, and then Matchstick Men, which is completely different. And then he did Kingdom of Heaven, which is a lot more like Gladiator, obviously.
Yeah, I think Gladiator might be the first Ridley Scott movie I ever saw.
Yeah, and the first Joaquin Phoenix movie I'd seen too, which this is kind of his breakout, right? It's Gladiator.
Yeah, because I didn't see Alien until much later. I didn't see Alien until probably 2008 or so.
Okay,
it had been a while after Gladiator. But yeah, I think Gladiator might have been the first Ridley Scott movie I ever saw.
For me, it was, I just finished 5th grade. I had surgery. I was laid up in bed for a couple of weeks. And I had my dad go to Blockbuster and rent some movies. And two of the ones I asked him to rent were Alien and The Exorcist. And he got them for me. And I was watched those on the couch. And we'll get to those movies. And
yeah.
Alien. Oh, I love it. Anyway, but yeah. So I guess, Gladiator was probably my second one. I had no idea who Scott was. At that time, I like Steven Spielberg, right? I know Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
Grew
up with Steven Spielberg.
Lucas and Robert Zemeckis, because of Forrest Gump and Back to the Future at that time. Couldn't have told you about Ridley Scott. So.
Yeah.
But we watched it because of Latin. Mr. Driscoll was a great class.
Yeah.
I think, and later on in his Latin class, we would watch the movie Troy, right? Did we? No.
My class didn't. And I know we didn't when we were in class together.
No,
because Latin 3 and 4 were one class, because by that
Troy
time...
was later. Wasn't Troy, yeah. I never watched Troy.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We watched The Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum every year.
That's right, yes.
We watched Strange Brew in Latin class.
Anyway, so it's funny though. I remember going into it. I remember reading reviews. Kind of going in from that Friday and Saturday morning. Because I saw it on a Saturday afternoon. So when people were saying, "Oh yeah, it's funny." I wouldn't agree with this, but they're talking, kind of comparing the opening scene to the opening of Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
I would say that Saving Private Ryan's a bloodier opening than Gladiator, which is still kind of bloody.
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator is definitely a very bloody movie.
Yeah. Gladiator's definitely a very bloody movie. Yeah, Saving Private Ryan has a much bloodier opening scene and much, not just bloodier, but gorier in general.
Gorier and it's intense.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff in the opening scene in Gladiator is sort of off screen or there's obstructions in the way. You can't.
Yes.
You can't really see everything that's going on.
Yeah. Kind of, makes it chaotic, which is good. But we'll get into that. As we like to say, if you don't want to be spoiled, it's the time to turn us off or continue, but we will spoil the movie. I don't think there's anything that revealing about it, right? But, I understand trying to go as kind of blind into the movie as possible. The tagline gives away a lot of it.
Yep. Yes, it does. And it is a 23-year-old movie at this point.
The general who became a slave, the slave who became Gladiator, the Gladiator who divided empire.
Which is also a line from the movie.
Yes.
But if you don't want to be spoiled, we are going to be talking about the entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't seen the movie, pause the podcast, watch the movie, come back and listen. If you don't mind being spoiled, keep on listening.
Another thing I would note is this is always kind of like a pet peeve of mine a little bit. People that like to get really picky about historical fiction like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there are real characters in this. Marcus Aurelius, son Commodus, and like everyone else is fictional, right?
Yep. And I think we're going to get into this a lot with our next movie too, but yeah.
It revises things, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be historically accurate like that.
Yes. It's just
which will
like...
be, people will harp on things like that, and I always kind of get peeved by that. Like, enjoy the movie for what it is. It's trying to do something itself.
Yeah, it's just like making a fictional movie set in today's world where you have, some real life people that are referenced or even in it.
Yeah.
But it's just set 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, correct.
It's meant to entertain. It's not meant to be, a history book.
Yeah. And, it wants to tell a story about different characters and it has its own theme it wants to present. Just enjoy it for what it is and take it from there. Like, I get that there's some times where things, at least in terms of, like, obviously you don't want these glaring anachronisms.
Yeah.
Right? But overall, or you don't want to purposefully, unless you're doing it in a mocking way, make someone that was like really evil seem like kind of a good person.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want Hitler.
Yeah, we don't want Hitler, petting a bunch of puppies and getting licked in the face by them.
Right.
And laughing.
Unless it's like the producers.
Yeah.
And they're like
exactly
mocking the idea of it.
Exactly.
Right?
and I mean, don't get too caught up on the fact that there's German Shepherds in the opening scene of this movie, and they didn't exist for like 1,500 years after this took place.
Right, but like what dogs are they going to use?
Like, yeah, exactly.
That act.
It's sure that breed wasn't around then, but it fits with the story.
It does. Anyhow, but we get to the beginning, and they set us up. Right, that it's during the reign of Marcus Aurelius, which I think they say it's year 180 AD, right?
Yes, this is 180 AD.
And they're saying that he's about to try to finally bring peace throughout the empire as just one last bastion of like resistance, right? And for those who are wondering, Marcus Aurelius was the Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD. So that gives you like the time frame of where he was.
So if you knew the time frame of when he was emperor, then you kind of know what's coming up. At the beginning of the movie, with it being set in 180.
What's kind of funny about this too, like we'll get into this, but he's always kind of regarded as a kind of one of the better emperors, one of the more well known, kind of like the early ones that you get to really know well, and in terms of the later ones, yeah, he's well regarded overall. He's also one of the emperors during the Pax Romana.
Yes, which he mentions briefly
yes.
when he's talking to Maximus after the opening battle. When he says that during his reign, he's had 4 years of peace. 4 years of peace in 20. And that 4 years he's talking about is the Pax Romana.
And I just always remember that from Mr. Driscoll's class.
Me too.
There's other things I remember, like, some other emperors, like Trajan. I remember because he always connected it to a Duke basketball player, Trajan Langdon. Anyway, so yeah, it gives us that setup. And yeah, they're about to have a battle with a tribe in Germania.
Yep.
Doesn't want to be conquered, right? So that's like the setup.
It was the final tribe that needed to be taken out in order to have peace throughout the empire.
Yeah, but I like how, it gives it the setup. And the next thing I like about it is then it just kind of shows a hand going through like a weak feet. So you kind of want, it's kind of an interesting like kind of start to it. You kind of wondering, what's that about?
But that all ties in later.
Yeah, and it actually works really well. And I love the entire arc, how it all ties together well within Russell Crowe's character, with others as well. And then you see him full, and like now he's in his soldier's armor and uniform. He's a general, just Russell Crowe.
Yes,
and now
general of the Roman legions.
And it's much more bleak. Like that first scene there, like it's kind of golden. It's kind of like a setting sun, and now it's like winter and barren. We can see that the Roman legion are getting ready for this potential battle, and setting everything up, and all that's really well done. Showing kind of doing a good job of, I think, of already establishing Russell Crowe, Maximus, his character. His name is Maximus. He's General Maximus. His rapport with his men, and that he's beloved. Like you get that right away as he's kind of walking the lines. Right, he's just set for all. He's like in there with them, but you can tell like they're waiting for an answer, right? And what's his name? Quintus.
Yes,
right,
Quintus is his top lieutenant, his captain.
And they're just they've sent someone out there to see if this tribe if they're going to accept peace to be under Roman rule, right? Because either that or they're going to fight. I like Quintus's line, right? People should know when they're conquered. And Matt, Russell Crowe, will you? Will I? Right?
Yeah, it was the perfect response to it, because it's like people should know when they're conquered, but will they? Would you know? Would you accept that you've been conquered?
Right. Well, I mean, you can take that like two ways, right? Like, would you really accept it, or you just like fight, or you not know it and then just get obliterate it?
And which that line alone really explains the whole movie.
It does explain the whole. Yeah. Who plays Quintus? Like, I could think like most of the other people, but like, because he's in the movie quite a bit.
Quintus is Thomas Arana. Tomas Arana.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He was also in The Hunter of October and The Dark Knight Rises. So he's a minor character, but like he's in enough of it.
Yeah, he's in The Bourne Supremacy also.
He's an interesting character because like he's kind of a bitch at times. I get it, like he's afraid, but I kind of blame him for something that happens later. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've sent out someone there to make peace, and then they're waiting. Then he sees the horse come back with the body on it, and he's like, "Look, they say no," right? And they've sent the guy's body back on the horse, but he's been decapitated. Then the head of the tribe takes the guy's head and just
tosses it out to him. Yeah.
Yeah. So now they're all going to fight. This is a great battle, and Maximus is part of the cavalry, right? They go off in the woods, and I love it. On my signal, unleash hell.
And they do.
Yeah. I love it. One of the things I like about it, there's no line that really gets into it, though. While he's talking, goes off in the woods, he's talking to the other cavalrymen, and there's two good lines in this movie. There's so many good lines. It's almost an underrated movie in some ways in terms of how quotable.
Yeah, it is.
So he tells him like, I imagine what you'll be, imagine what you'll be doing. It will be so. And for him, like, you get soon that what he wants to imagine is being home, right? Like, that's the entire thing, is being home for him.
Yeah. He wants to be home with his wife and son.
And then, the great line within this is, what we do in life echoes in the eternity. I guess people could take, it's like, yeah, no, I don't believe that, but I really love that line as well.
Yeah. It is a good one.
In many ways. So
then there's always just the beginning of the battle. They're going around telling each other strength and honor.
Strength and honor. Yeah, that's right. Strength and honor.
Just repeating that back and forth to each other.
I just love the entire procession of just showing how loyal they are to Maximus, how much they love Maximus. And again, this is going to be a theme that kind of comes into things, is earning love and respect.
Yeah.
And how you get people to your side is going to be really important.
Yes.
At this time, again, it's important to understand that Rome is an empire, right? It's ruled by an emperor, not the republic that it was, right?
Yeah, where it was ruled by the Senate.
By the Senate, right? Where it's more democratic, a democratic type republic, kind of, or how the Greeks were a democracy. But just still kind of understanding, controlling the people. And they're going to see that, later in the movie. As always, a lot of it is who are the Romans and what is the mob. And, I think there's a lot of people are very keenly aware of how you use those terms and those groups. But it's very, you're going to see this between, Maximus's character and people rally around him, and then the later character of Commodus, who we haven't met yet, right?
Yes, Commodus played by Joaquin Phoenix, who is the son of Marcus Aurelius.
What I like about it, though, is we'll find out very soon that Maximus' sense of this is serving Marcus Aurelius, someone that he greatly respects and considers like a father, in Rome. And he has this idea of, what Rome is. We'll talk about soon about like the harsh reality beyond that.
Yeah.
But then, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because right after the battle, right after Rome wins the battle, Maximus is called into Marcus Aurelius' tent.
Yes,
and
that's what I was thinking about.
And that's when he explains everything. That's when Marcus Aurelius tells him the dream that was Rome. And it's revealed in that conversation that Maximus has been close with Marcus Aurelius since he was a child. He and Commodus grew up together as friends, as very close friends. Mm-hmm. And that relationship led to Maximus being made the general of the Roman legion.
Yeah, and so he's fought for Marcus Aurelius for probably,
most of his life.
Say how long? Most of his life, yeah. I mean, and knows what he says. He's been away for almost 3 years. He's probably been longer than that doing everything, and get just enough of his backstory. He's a Spaniard.
Yes, he's a Spaniard. He's called a Spaniard throughout most of the movie.
Yeah. So,
which an Australian playing a Spaniard and a Roman.
Ben Kingsley played Gandhi.
True. Very true.
Yeah, but so spoiler alert, right? The Romans win the battle. Yeah, it's a good battle scene. There's, like you said, it's chaotic, and you got fire and people getting flaming arrows through their chest, getting cleaved, and swords being thrust through them. You got a German shepherd mauling people.
Yeah, fireballs flying through the air, getting shot from catapults.
Yeah, you
like
got
clay pots filled with oil set fire.
Trees falling on them, hit with those fireballs. So it's a good scene. So they win, right? And they're all excited, and it kind of cuts to the next thing. Well, Marcus Aurelius is watching this from afar. There's this sense that, he's conquered these people, and they stood up to not be conquered. And there's this idea, what is this for? Especially as we'll learn that he sees Rome as the idea of Rome. Which he's an old man, right? Richard Harris plays Marcus Aurelius. He's terrific in this movie. He's absolutely terrific.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Did he get an Oscar also for this movie?
No, he did not.
He should have.
Yeah.
He was amazing in it.
So yeah, he's an old man. He even explains it that he's a dying man. He's an old man. Makes you kind of think about your life. So it cuts away from that. The battle scene, and now you kind of have a little caravan kind of going through, and we see Joaquin Phoenix and Connie Nielsen, right, the brother and sister.
Mm-hmm. Commodus
really
and Lucilla.
his children, and they're talking, and all Commodus can think about is that their father is going to name him emperor, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he wants.
Yep. All Commodus cares about is being emperor.
Yep.
He wants the power.
He wants the power, and there's a part of it where he's desperately trying to find his father's approval and love.
Well, he wants to be emperor, he wants the power, and he also wants to get with his sister.
Yeah. That's the thing. At first I saw what is going on here?
Disturbing how badly he wants to get with his sister.
But that was really disturbing. It's terrific, and
yes, it's terrifically acted.
Putting it in there, but
it's terrifically acted, and it's historically accurate.
Yes.
Nobility in those days, there was a lot of incest in royal families.
It's also kind of accurate because it's also very much implied later he wants to get with his nephew, his prepubescent nephew.
It's implied, but thankfully no more than just the implication of it.
We will get to that later.
Yeah.
But, if you think about it, though, it's like, for a movie, it's like a sword and sandals epic, and it does throw in some very heavy, not just undertones, no, it's pretty overt.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're obviously traveling from Rome because Marcus Aurelius wants others there to kind of celebrate that last stronghold, that victory, right? They arrive and at the battlefield, and I think it's just funny, right? You just see it night and day the way Commodus and Maximus treat Marcus Aurelius, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, and
I love. He's like, "Have I missed it? Have I missed the battle?"
Yeah, yeah. He comes in way after it's done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm gonna slay 40 bulls for you." And Marcus is like, "No, celebrate Maximus."
Yeah.
He won us the battle. There is this interesting aspect of the way he presents it, I think. The way the Romans view the emperors, or the Caesars, right?
Mm-hmm.
They technically weren't the Caesars at that point. They still call the emperor Caesar. Was divine. And you kind of have that aspect of Commodus, just, his father is still this divine figure in a way, right? And he's trying to give him the credit for the victory. And Marcus Aurelius, being humble, right, is like,
it's like, no, I didn't do anything. Go, give Maximus the credit. He's the one that led the armies that defeated the Germanic tribe.
And it's just kind of and then he's trying to get on the horse, and Maximus tries to helps him on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Commodus, being the little bitch that he is, just stands back.
Yep.
Marcus Aurelius talks to Maximus so much for the glory of Rome.
Yeah, really, this movie, it really shows. I think this was the second movie I saw Joaquin Phoenix in. The first one was Space Camp, back when he was Leaf Phoenix, when he was a little kid. This is the first adult, the first movie that I had seen with adult Joaquin Phoenix.
I would say Space Camp would have been the first one I saw,
and
I would not have remembered that when I first saw it.
Yeah, same here. I didn't remember that was him when I first saw it. But this movie really, it shows how good of an actor he is.
Oh, he's great in this. He was nominated.
Because Joaquin Phoenix, he plays Commodus as such a little bitch so well. He was brilliant in this role.
He was. And what's funny about it, and we'll get into it later, is You see him in this here, but then later in the movie, you see how ruthless and conniving he really is too.
Yeah.
But still ultimately.
Yeah, and Joaquin Phoenix is able to just flip on a dime between those two characterizations of Commodus.
Yep. And, you know, and I mean, Russell Crowe, and we'll get into this too when we get into, you know, some of his later scenes, it's like, you know, he does a really good job of showing these different aspects too. And, you know, because he goes through a lot of different, you know, especially as you kind of get into the like middle act, kind of his different modes as well. It's just all together such a brilliantly acted movie. Even like Connie Nielsen was like, you know, she's the first thing I saw her in, and probably the next thing I saw her was 1 Hour Photo.
Yep, she was in that
Robin
one.
Williams takes a shit.
No, he daydreams that he takes a shit on a toilet.
That's a good movie.
That is. Anyway. That's one we should do one of these days. But no, I had first seen Connie Nielsen in Soldier with Kurt Russell.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that I think a year or so before.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I saw that in '99.
I like it when you first see her in this, like you're not certain what to make of her.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, they go off the battlefield and then they're back in camp and there's senators there, right? Everyone's celebrating and drinking booze and everything. And Commodus introduces Maximus to different senators, and there's debates about whether to be what's better, being an empire or a republic. Is the Senate worth all these things? And, you know, these all things are you kind of play into the movie because, you know, Commodus is later going to, not to give it away, but, you know, he'll soon be emperor, and he sees him as an obstacle to really the power that he wants. He'll talk about the people, but he only uses the people for his own purposes and to be aggrandized. But he's one of the actors I was thinking about that was Derek Jacobi, right?
Yes.
Was one of the ones that's there. He'll be one of the main supporting characters later in the movie. Senator Gracchus, who very much is an ally of Marcus Aurelius, favors the Republic, right? And Commodus kind of mocks the idea there with Maximus. You know, Maximus being the soldier that he is, right? He's supposed to say that. How's he put it? But, you know, he does a good job of being very apolitical.
Yeah.
He sees the job as serving the empire and then doing what he's supposed to do next.
Yeah, he has a job to do and he's going to do it.
Right?
He doesn't want to, you know, he doesn't want to have any hand in, you know, leading the empire. He just has his army and he wants to be able to send his soldiers home at the end of the day.
Yes.
Just like any good general wants.
You know, David Schofield is one of the other senators there. He is, Senator Falco? Yeah, Senator Falco. But he's more proposed to Gracchus. He likes being senator, but I guess he's more of an ally of Commodus. He, you know, doesn't really explain a lot into his thinking. But they're in there, they're talking. And there's like a third guy.
Yeah, Gaius.
Gaius. You know, we don't get into his thought as much, but he's more allied in with Maximus.
But Gaius is the one that Commodus warns Maximus of, don't get too close to Gaius because he'll whisper in your ear, he'll pour honey in your ear, and soon you'll be calling out Republic.
That's right. Meanwhile, you know, Marcus Aurelius is milling around and then sees his daughter. Right, and I always love the line. He's like, "Only you had been born a man, what a Caesar you would have been." Right? Yeah. It's like you get, but that line itself, and like, it's just like this to his son. Like, oh yeah, like I mean, you already tell the way. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix sells it immediately. Like, yeah, no, you don't like him. He's not a good dude. You know, and you can tell his father doesn't like him.
You can really tell his sister doesn't like him.
Yes.
When they're in the carriage going up to the battle.
Oh, and yes, like we don't know it yet, but we'll learn it soon that she has recently been widowed.
Yes, and she has a son named Lucius.
Probably why her brother is starting to really make the moves on her. But you know, we go on, and Marcus Aurelius summons Maximus, having this lovely talk. First, you know, I like how it starts, and it's such a great scene that it's acted well between both Harris and Crowe. He just kind of wants to know. It's funny because, like, obviously he grew up. It's like his father figure to him, and he's has his life beyond just being general. Just talks about it. Right? I just love the way he talks about it. So,
yeah, because Marcus Aurelius asks him about his family. He asks him what his home is like.
Yeah.
And so he just starts describing the way that the sun hits certain parts of the property. How it comes in through the windows, and the house smells of herbs in the day. And I can't remember what he said it was.
Like,
it smells like night.
Hair,
and
right? Talks about the different things that grow, right? And his sun riding. You get this. Already have this sense from back in the opening scene where his hands just going through the field. Like, his purpose beyond all of this is, like, he's got this job, he's going to do what he has to do. It's his family, right?
And now that he is defeated, that his army has defeated the final tribe to be able to bring peace to Rome, he finally gets to go home.
Right. And he really
finally gets the opportunity to go home.
Has it been? And, he breaks it down to the day.
3 years, 264 days in this morning.
Yep. Like, it's awesome. And, yeah, you feel it with him. But then it breaks into this next part where they start talking about Rome. And you then see, I love it. You see his love of family, then you see the love of his men, because he realizes a bunch of them have died. A bunch of them are dying. And there's a bunch of them that didn't die, that were maimed, right? And realizing that there has to be this purpose that they died for, which you could imagine, like any good general would think of.
Yeah.
As opposed to later, where you have these men that Commodus is going to want to fight for him, that are not, the purpose they're fighting for is for Commodus. It's this different feel. So, and then it gets into the discussion of Rome. We've already kind of talked about kind of the back and forth really with the senators and Commodus, and Aurelius delivers the news that Maximus is going to become emperor.
Yeah, well, Marcus Aurelius tells him that, he's dying.
Yes.
And when he's gone, he wants Maximus. His last request is for Maximus to take over, to be the emperor, and then to turn it over to the Senate.
Yes, which is important.
That Rome will be a republic again. There was a dream that was Rome, and that dream is that Rome will be a republic. And Maximus, as flattered and honored as he is to have this offer given to him, he turns it down because he just wants to go home and be with his family. That's
right. That's all he wants to do. He doesn't see himself as a politician or any of these things, right? There's a good line earlier within the scene before where, he's told, like, with an army behind him, he can be very powerful.
Yeah.
Which is very true.
Yes. But he doesn't want the power. He just wants he just wants his family. He just wants to go home.
But, there's an important point, though. Like, I think, Marcus Aurelius tells him he hasn't seen Rome recently, right? That's not this ideal that he might have in his head that has been corrupted.
Yeah,
right?
and I mean the thing with Maximus is what's revealed a little bit later in the movie is he's never been to Rome.
Yeah. He's
the leader of the Roman legion, but he's never been to Rome.
And I just love the line then, when he brings up Commodus, and Richard Harris is like, Commodus is not a moral man.
He just flat out, he's just very blunt with it. Just
he's like, you have known this. And then, when he gives him like the evening to think it over.
Yeah. Right? After he turns it down, he gives him the evening to think it over. Like he's going to change his mind.
And he gets out of there, and at the tent, kind of like, I get it, how he might be kind of like...
Your options are, you can retire and spend the rest of your life on a farm in Spain, or you can be the emperor and then hand it all over to the Senate. Yeah.
Anyway. But he leaves, the tent, and Lucilla is there, right? And kind of wondering what her father wanted from him. They get into this conversation, and they kind of understand, you get quickly that, like, they are, like, former lovers, and for whatever reason, didn't work out. They each got married to different people.
Yeah, but they definitely have a history.
Like almost the same age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similar ages, but as you said earlier, we know that she's like recently widowed, and it's kind of an interesting conversation that also happens in here where he says that he prayed for her husband when he died, and then she talks about like, oh yes, I pray. Interesting things like she kind of talks about like the gods, and there's always this thing, you get in these things a little bit later where I've never been entirely certain that almost seems like Maximus is a Christian.
Well, yes and no. I mean, he definitely, there are a lot of things that he does that makes it seem like he's a Christian, but at the same time, he's got his penates that he carries around, his family gods.
Yes, right.
The little bag, exactly. The little sack with the little woman and boy that represented his wife and son. He prays to his family gods to protect them.
Yeah.
His penates.
So, it's always kind of weird. Like, they play this different line of him. So, anyway, they definitely contrast that, like, he's, at least very much observant religiously, and she kind of is, right?
Yeah.
But, so they have that conversation with each other, and then next thing we have is Commodus talking to her father.
Yes. And it's a very different conversation than than the conversation Maximus had with him, where basically Marcus Aurelius reveals to Commodus that Commodus won't be emperor. As much as he wants it, he's not going to be emperor. He's gonna hand over the empire to Maximus. And then I always like the part of the conversation there where Commodus is talking about virtues. He said, "You once sent me a list of virtues, of the 4 main virtues." And then he lists them off, and he's like, "But I have virtues too." And he starts listing off all of his virtues, one of which being courage. Maybe not courage on the battlefield, but there are many forms of courage.
Like wanting to stick it in my sister.
Yeah. Oh.
But again, he acts it so well.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, so Marcus further pushes in the fact that he does not want Commodus to take over. He will not allow him to be emperor. And he starts getting, apologetic when he sees Commodus start to cry.
Turns it on.
When he turns on the tears, starts acting like a little bitch, starts whining.
But again, it's perfect because he does it well, and you can tell it's fake.
Yeah.
But Richard Harris performs it well because he's a father that actually does love his son.
Yes. Yes, but he sees in his son that he's not fit to be emperor. And it kills him that he can't name his son emperor.
And in the line, it's perfect. And there's your failures are my failures as a father.
Yeah, I mean, he takes full responsibility for Commodus's inability to rule. He takes it as a slight to himself for not raising him right.
He did send him a list of virtues.
He did. But none of Commodus's virtues were on that list. So Commodus goes in for the hug while his father is sitting down and pushes Marcus's face into Commodus's chest, and smothers him.
Doesn't let go
in the hug, and kills his father. And of course, kills his father before
anyone
he could have told anyone that Commodus wasn't going to be emperor, that Maximus was going to be emperor. So then, of course, after that, Commodus, called the doctors in, told them that his dad just dropped dead, and then went on and told everybody that, hey, I'm emperor now.
And Quintus wakes up Maximus, and Maximus, is ready to, he doesn't want to be startled awake. He's ready to fight, even sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, Quintus comes in, puts his hand on his shoulder, and Maximus wakes up and puts a knife in Quintus's face. But stops before he actually stabs him.
Yeah. And, he says the emperor wants him, and he goes in, and it's Commodus.
Mm-hmm.
And says, grieve with me, brother. Our great father is dead. When you can see Max oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Commodus tries to say, he died in his sleep. It was peaceful. Obviously,
Maximus knows. He knows that Commodus did it.
And you see Lucilla crying, and you can see that she kind of knows that it's also
there's something fishy about this,
because she saw Maximus leave the tent. He's kind of not at peace. And
then saw Commodus go in, and then Commodus come out, and Marcus was dead.
And Commodus offers his hand to Maximus just once. I only offer it once.
But Maximus refuses.
He refuses. He goes off, and he's trying to get his stuff together. And he's talking to his servant, Cicero.
Yeah, Cicero.
Right? Like, we need to get my men together and all this. And
yeah, Cicero, played by Tommy Flanagan. Great actor.
Oh, great.
He's doing a lot of stuff.
Great. Yeah. He was in Guardians 2.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, Sons of Anarchy.
He's in Braveheart.
What else we got? Face Off. Never saw Charlie Angel's Bolt. Sin City. A lot of good things. He was in episode 24.
And he's a certifiable badass, too.
Oh, yes.
Is that if you see him, you see those big scars going up his cheeks?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He got that in a bar fight.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So those scars, which look eerily similar to Joker's scars in The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Because it's the same kind of wound. So he got into a bar fight, and somebody decided to give him a Glasgow smile.
Glasgow, so yeah, I'm looking at that right now.
Where they took the knife and they basically carved a smile into his face. And so that's what those scars are from on Tommy Flanagan's face. They are actual scars. They're not just something they put on there for every role that he's in.
Yeah. Interesting.
Somehow he survived that.
So, he's trying to get Cicero to help get his men together. But then Quintus comes in and this is not prudent. And Maximus is like, the emperor has been murdered, which might not have also been a prudent thing to say. This is where Quintus gets to be a little bit of a bitch.
Yeah.
He makes up for it later. So, tell some of the Praetorian Guard to come in. And it's like, take him and ride to Don and execute him. And then,
so
Maximus, thinking that no one, this relationship they've had, would listen to him, protect my family, and then Quintus telling his family is going to join him in the afterlife. Which seems like, that's harsh, just to kill his family, too.
Yeah.
Live all the way in Spain.
But the orders come from Commodus, who is not a moral man. He wants to ruin. He doesn't just want to kill Maximus. He wants to ruin Maximus. He wants to destroy everything Maximus loves.
It ends up being a very bad idea.
Yes. Very bad
idea. This whole movie could be avoided.
Yes.
If Commodus just lets his family live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they ride Maximus off until dawn. They're in the middle of the woods on a chilly morning.
Yep.
They're about to behead him, and then here comes another one of those great lines. Yeah, at least give me a clean death, a soldier's death.
Like the guy, it's we nods to the other dude. Go ahead.
Yeah,
superior.
So they move up behind him instead of going to chop off his head. They're going to stab him through the back of the neck. And guy raises up the sword. Maximus does a reverse headbutt, gets the sword away from him.
Stabs him in the neck. And the other guy's trying to get his sword out.
But it's stuck.
The frost.
Sometimes it makes the blade stick.
He just gashes his face in half.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the other guy's on the horse.
Other Praetorians who are kind of drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and he's able to, he tosses a sword through one.
Yeah, through one of them while his hands are still tied. And he pulls the sword out of him and calls the other one that's on a horse. Yeah. And as he comes riding, between shots, he had cut the rope that was tying his wrists together. Praetorian comes riding at him. Just as he's crossing him, Maximus swings the sword. He got Maximus in the shoulder, and we think that it makes it look like Maximus got hit, got sliced by the guy's sword. The guy drops dead off the horse.
Russell Crowe is that badass.
and then we see blood dripping down Russell Crowe's arm.
He takes one of the horses and
rides for...
Right, but he's weak because, he got cut and, probably,
he had to have been riding...
not super deep. He'd want to get it sewn up and prevent infection.
Yeah.
Right?
Meanwhile,
he's not really eating a whole lot and...
No, and his hair's growing, which is how he's been riding for a long time.
Yeah. So, like, he's weak.
Because he had like a buzz cut when he was about to be executed, but when it's showing him riding the horse, his hair's getting longer. So he's been riding it for a long time.
Yeah. So he's got a wound that's not doing well. And again, he's not eating a whole lot, and he's probably not sleeping a whole lot because, he's trying to get back to his family because he knows they're going to be executed.
Mm-hmm. And I love how it does when it's showing him riding, how it cuts between him riding the horse and then over to the Roman soldiers riding toward his property. Right.
And, you got to imagine it's like, we'll be pretty close in time. Like, they're going to have a little bit of a head start on him.
Yeah.
And there's more of them, and they can move easier. And anyway, yeah, like you're saying, like, it cuts back and forth between the two. And, like, at some point as he gets closer, you can tell, he's thinking about it, and he gets a motivation to really kick it in the gear, right? The adrenaline kicks in again, right?
Yeah. But then the horse collapses.
Yeah.
The horse is just exhausted.
Yeah, which obviously.
Yeah. So he does the rest of the trek on foot.
And, he gets back in, and finally, like, in the field.
You can see it when he's approaching the property. House. You can see the black smoke.
Yeah. Well, then, before that, like, you have, like, his wife, kid, and, like,
he sees the soldiers riding up.
He's thinking, like, his dad's coming.
Yeah. So he runs up to greet him.
This scene.
He runs up to greet him, and they trample that kid.
They trample the kid.
They just flat out trample the kid.
There's two movies. Like, there's another movie. Maybe we should do this one. Enemy at the Gates has a scene with a kid.
Yes. That one too. We should definitely do that one sometime. That movie
reminds me of this. Like, no,
you
see a kid get trampled to death.
Well, no, he does. He's not trampled to death.
No, well,
he probably would have died from his injuries. But it's made to look like they killed him right then. But it's explained later that they didn't kill him with the trampling.
He got crucified.
Yeah. But yeah,
and he gets there, and you can see, like, it's like I said, like, it's black smoke, so it's been recent. Mm-hmm. No, it's still, like, smoking. It's not smoldering at this point. It's smoking.
No, it's black smoke, so something's on fire.
They've killed all the servants in the fields, right? They just got whatever, and then he ends up and he crawls, and, like, you just see their feet. And
so their feet hanging there.
He buries them.
But they're black charred feet because they were crucified and then burned alive.
That's gonna piss somebody off.
Yeah.
So he buries them, and then he just finally sleeps.
Yeah, then he collapses next to their graves, and then the next thing you know, he's picked up by slavers, and he wakes up to Djimon Hounsou putting maggots in his shoulder wound.
Yes, Vagina Hounsou.
Yes, Vagina Hounsou.
Right, and that they ride, and we see this trader kind of sell these slaves. Do they ever say where's? They say what province that is?
Trying
to remember.
I don't remember, but yeah,
they say it's North Africa. So they they have a slave trader played by the guy in The Mummy. What was his name?
Yes. Omid Jalili.
Yes.
Jalili. Omid Jalili.
Because he's the guy that the scarab kills.
Yes. In The Mummy. Yes. He's always fun.
He is fun.
He always plays a fun character.
But you see them like it's North Africa, and he approaches this guy named Proximo, played by Oliver Reed.
Yes, Oliver Reed's last movie.
He died making this movie.
Yes,
they had to use like a stunt double and CGI
to finish the movie.
Some of the scenes, but you can kind of see it. It's the year 2000. The CGI's have gotten better. Yeah.
CGI has gotten much better in the last 23 years. Then
they did a good job of doing what they needed to do.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's also, this was 2000, where they still had excellent CGI, because, I mean, Jurassic Park was 93, and that still holds up. Mm-hmm. So 2000 still had access to good CGI.
Yeah, no, it was still actually really good. I mean, we'll get into some of it later, because they use a lot of CGI for, like, the Roman scenes, obviously. But yeah, he's selling him all these people he's captured, and he's a gladiator trainer, right? And he has gladiators that he uses in these arenas in North Africa. And I like.
And we learn that not only is he a gladiator trainer, but he used to be a gladiator.
He's a gladiator. Yeah, we'll find that with the conversations later.
Yeah.
And as Omid the Jolly tells him, like, some are good for fighting, some are good for dying.
Yeah.
You need both, I think.
Yep. But he's mad at him. Proximo's mad at him because he sold him queer giraffes. The giraffes that he sold him aren't mating. They just eat.
We see the giraffes.
So he decides, the slave trader decides to give him a discount because of that. A discount on the slaves. So he walks up to Djimon Hounsou, smacks him on the ass.
It's a good ass. It's a good, thick ass.
And he decides to buy him.
Well, he tells him he was a hunter, so it should be a good ass.
Yeah, true.
Meanwhile, Maximus is just sitting there like, right?
Yeah, Proximo sees the SPQR tattoo on
and
his
he thinks
shoulder.
he might be a deserter.
Yeah,
right, which makes sense.
He knows that he was a legionnaire, but he thinks that he's a deserter.
That's when he learns he's a Spaniard. He's like, he's a Spaniard.
Mm-hmm. But he knows that, if he was a soldier, then that means he must be a good fighter. So
we get through that, and Maximus doesn't talk, and you can tell he's despondent and whatever, and I think at first he just doesn't care about any of it, which will later change. And I like the scene where Proximo is trying to pep talk the gladiators, and kind of he's kind of going through a training to see what they're like. Where we meet kind of his chief gladiator, Ralph Mauler Hagen, right, who becomes a friend of Maximus later. We see Djimon Hounsou. You say that.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, it's I think we're going to keep on saying it with Djimon Hounsou.
Yeah, Juba. But he's a great actor. But
He's a fantastic actor.
I love him. He needs an Oscar someday.
Yeah, he does. Everything he's in, he does a great job.
I want to be the announcer for Djimon Hounsou. Anyway, he fights. You can tell he's a good fighter. You can tell he's strong. And then Maximus just doesn't try to fight him. He just looks at it. And
so then, before that fight, though, before their first match that they get sent in, their first gladiatorial match.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's during that scene where Ralph Moeller is introduced. Where you see Maximus sort of sitting off by the window.
Yes.
He's using a sharp rock or piece of glass or something to
he's trying
scrape off his tattoo.
The SQR.
Scraping off his SPQR tattoo. And Djimon Hounsou asks if that's a sign of his gods.
Right.
So I watched, for this viewing, I watched the extended cut, which I had never seen before.
I have seen it before. It's been a while.
Okay. But there's one little extension on this scene that I really enjoyed that they put in there, which is sort of when, the different gladiators are getting to know each other. And that, Maximus is off scraping off his tattoo. Djimon Hounsou's talking to him. Then that little scrawny guy.
Oh, yeah.
Is standing over by the doorway before Hagen comes in.
Yeah.
Asking their guys what they did before they were taken into slavery. And he explains that he was a scribe. So he doesn't think he's going to survive. Because all he knows how to do is write.
How does a scribe get captured?
I don't know. But I thought that was cool because later in the movie, not to jump too far ahead, but when they finally make it to the Colosseum and they're going out for their first match in the Colosseum, that scribe, that's the guy that's standing right in front of Maximus pissing himself.
Yeah, he gets a mace in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the theatrical cut, that's the first you see of that guy. You don't get his backstory. So you don't really understand why he's so terrified. I mean, you get that he's scared because he's about to go into the freaking Colosseum. But you don't understand the extent of his fear.
He just get a mace in the face. He just gets a sword shoved through his gullet. Someone else gets a mace in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the guy with the spiky hair that gets the mace to the face.
Yeah.
The guy that looks like...
Bill Paxton.
Yeah, the guy that looked like Bill Paxton in Terminator.
I like the scene though because like it does a good job of establishing like this friendship that's about to grow.
Yeah, because their first fight is where they take the gladiators and they chain them together. Yep. Each one is paired off. They're paired off and they're chained together, and Maximus and Djimon Hounsou are chained together, and that.
Yeah, Hagen and the scribe are chained together.
Mm-hmm.
And the scribe, like you said, pisses himself.
Oh yeah, I guess it's not. Yeah, I guess it's not when he's going to the Colosseum that he pisses himself. It was that fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was in that first one, I thought.
But that guy quickly got killed, and so Hagen cut off that guy's hand, so he wouldn't have to drag him around. And starts using the chain as a weapon. You got the sword in one hand and chain in the other.
But
meanwhile, Maximus
before the scene, that I do like that Proxima gives him like a pep talk again about you're gonna die or live to the clapping, right? Like this entertainment that these people want, like, and Maximus is going to begin to understand that. But one of the things I like about it before this, you see him finally get in that mode of like survival, and this thing that happens before anything, like he likes to pick up the dirt.
Yeah, picks up the dirt, rubs his hand in it,
and rubs them, right?
Mm-hmm. It helps with his grip.
Yes,
helps with his grip on a sword.
So, and then they get into there, and they're all tied together, and thankfully, a few of them are able to survive. I always kind of wondered about the gladiators are already in like that little arena, or any of them for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Who are they, and where did they come from?
Yeah. How many fights did they get through before that one?
Yeah. People are cheering because they got to see bloodshed and all these.
Yeah. How many fights did the one guy go through before Djimon Hounsou shoved a trident in his crotch? How many kids did he have at home? He's not having any more. But
did he ever shove a trident into somebody?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they proceed to another match, and this time it's just Maximus.
It's Maximus going out.
He just kills him quickly.
Yes, he does.
I love the last guy.
Yes. The last kill on that one is great.
He's got like this pig-like helmet on.
It's like a bull helmet, like a bull hat thing.
Yeah.
Because it's got the horns coming out. It's a big dude.
Yep.
And Maximus just takes two swords, stabs him in the chest with both of them, lets go of them.
Well, he slices him across the chest with each of them.
Yes, he slices him across the chest with each.
And then he stabs
him with both of them, then lets go of them. They're just wobbling in his chest. And he sort of steps back, looks around, then pulls the swords out of the guy's chest and scissors off his head. He just swings the swords like scissors and chops off the guy's head. Then I noticed something here. After that, then the crowd's cheering, and then he takes the sword and takes one of the two swords, throws it up into the stands.
Yes,
up to whoever's in the box seats up there. Goes and hits a table. It's got drinks on it. Knocks that down there. But I noticed there's a little mistake, little continuity error. Right after he throws it, because he throws the sword that was in his right hand. Right, so then he's holding the other sword in his left hand. The next shot, he's got that sword in his right hand, and then the next shot is back in his left. But yeah, he throws the sword up there, then he yells out at the crowd, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?"
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
And that just makes the crowd cheer even more.
Meanwhile,
because that fight was right after his one-on-one with Proximo.
Yeah.
Their conversation where it's revealed that Proximo was a gladiator that won his freedom. And he's trying to connect with Maximus because he sees more than other people do in Maximus.
Yes.
He sees that there's more to him. And so he explains to him that
he has to winning
battles isn't going to win you freedom. You got to win the crowd.
Yep.
If the crowd is on your side, then you'll get your freedom.
But like he's like, you're good, but you're not that good. And he understands that he's good in that. Like, yeah, I mean, he can beat people, and he can survive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more than just surviving. Like, you need to be able, if he wants to win his freedom, it's something different.
Yeah.
And he, reveals, his history as a gladiator that won his freedom from Marcus Aurelius. Always like Maximus laughs, like, you knew Marcus Aurelius?
Yeah, because Maximus at this point still hasn't.
I met him.
Yeah, Maximus still isn't revealing to anybody that he was basically Marcus Aurelius' son.
Yeah.
He's not revealing his identity to anybody. They just think that he was a deserter. But yeah, so that's funny. He's laughing that he's like, you met Marcus Aurelius? He's like, he touched me on the shoulder once. I didn't know him.
Very quick about that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's stuff going back in Rome, right? Like we said, Commodus, he's off in Germania. So now he has to ride back into Rome as the new emperor.
So he's riding in on his chariot. Everybody's cheering.
We finally meet Lucilla's son,
Lucius
Clark.
Yep, Spencer Treat Clark playing Lucius. Which, was this his first movie?
I think it was.
Because he was on Unbreakable not long after this.
Yes.
But
so everyone's like, oh yeah, he is Gladiator when all Unbreakable. No, that's right. I forgot about this. Arlington Road.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in Arlington Road.
Yeah,
that was a good movie.
Jeff Bridges and Joan Cusack.
Yeah, Joan Cusack.
Joan
Jeff Bridges,
being an evil little bitch. Like Joan Cusack, man, she's evil.
Yeah. Yeah, she was Tim Robbins' wife in that movie, and they were both evil.
Anyway, but you see Commodus now having to adjust as emperor and being with the Senate, and he doesn't really care about what they have to say, and they're having actual good things about how to help. He's just kind of seen more of like, again, we talked about this term, like the mob and what they want. He wants the people to love him.
Yeah, but he thinks he can demand their love.
Yes.
He doesn't think he has to earn it.
What's important through all this, right? And finally, he's kind of getting into a little squabble with Gracchus about both kind of saying like they don't really know how the people really live or what they go through. And finally, Priscilla is able to kind of pull Commodus away before they need to be. But what's important about all this, like we see that he decides to honor his father with 150 days of gladiatorial games.
Yes, because that's exactly what Marcus Aurelius wanted.
So, anyway.
So, word gets back to all of the gladiators in the Empire. And
that's where our hero, Maximus,
finds out that his group is going to go to Rome.
So that's now.
And that's when it's revealed that Maximus has never been to Rome.
Yeah, because one of the first things you see is this big CGI shot of Rome, kind of getting on the Colosseum is huge. And Djimon Hounsou is like, have you ever seen anything like it? Like, even for him, he's from sub-Saharan Africa.
Mm-hmm.
He's just this hunter and doesn't think of men building such things, right? And it's kind of this good contrast because it makes it seem like that's what the glory of Rome is these magnificent things like that, these buildings and structures that they've built.
But what's not shown in the movie, which is very historically inaccurate, which is one thing I know at the beginning of this episode, we told people don't get hung up on the historical inaccuracies.
Mm-hmm.
But Rome was full of graffiti dicks all over everything.
Yes.
Those don't show up in the movie.
There's much overt incest that's in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rated R. I mean, it's rated R for a very good reason.
Yeah.
It could use a few graffiti decks.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, in the Rome HBO series, they're all over the place.
Yes.
but yeah.
So, there's a scene there with a few of the senators, Gracchus. He understands that, he gets a sense that Commodus is more clever than he originally thought. That he knows all this bloodshed is going to get the mob kind of really excited. They're going to love Commodus for all this entertainment that he's giving them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to delve too deep into modern politics, but there's a lot that even be said there about politicians. We'll dive into kind of what the mob wants. Anyway, so we get a scene now that they have kind of the different gladiators that are going to be fighting kind of in public, so that people can kind of see them and know who they are, right? And
yeah, and Maximus has a new breastplate, new piece of armor that Proximo gave him with 2 horses on it, which then becomes his standard armor for the rest of the movie.
Correct.
And so they're all in the cages, and everybody's talking about the Spaniard because they've heard about his exploits at the arenas around the Empire. And
young Lucius is kind of around there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's the son of Lucilla. And he sees Maximus, or the Spaniard. He sees him as the Spaniard. He's like, "Are you the one that they call the Spaniard?" Right? So he's heard about him.
Yeah.
And they have this conversation. At this point, Maximus doesn't know who he is. And kind of the servant that's supposed to be watching him comes over and says, "Lucius, right?" And she's like, "His name is Lucius." And he says, "Yes, after my father." Right?
Yeah.
He makes
and so that's when, he makes the connection that's Lucilla's son.
And so we have another scene there where we realize that all of them that are from Proximo's gladiators are going to be part of the Battle of Carthage.
A reenactment of the Battle of Carthage.
And he knows that, that's they get slaughtered, and he's concerned that all his gladiators are going to be massacred in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Wait, you're right. It wasn't the Battle of Carthage. Yeah, so the scribe I think he did get killed in the arena before. I think he was the guy that was attached to Hagen. Because they didn't, when for their Battle of Carthage, they were already out in the arena in the Colosseum before they let the chariots and stuff out. They're all out there because they were all out in the center.
They have no idea what's coming up.
Yeah.
Right, and it's Battle of Zama. It's the second Punic War. Is what it would be, and it's a massacre. It's a big Roman victory, right? And of course, that would be something that Commodus would want: is these big Roman victories, right? The glory of Rome, right?
Mm-hmm. And then, so
of course, Proximo doesn't like that. Doesn't want all his gladiators to die. They're valuable to him, right?
Yeah,
and he's a bond with a few of them. So. Of course, Maximus, he's a general. He knows how to
Maximus, he sees the chariots start coming out, so he starts barking orders. He starts telling people, okay, this is how we're going to survive this thing.
Right. And I mean,
he's like, you listen to me, you'll make it out.
Right. And, some of you, if you've listened, that might know Roman warfare. I mean, it's all about being the collective.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing he did.
That's how they're such a strong group and how they're able to conquer the known world.
Because they work together. And so the first thing Maximus does is he asks people if they have any battle experience.
Mm-hmm.
He starts asking around, and one guy says, "I served with you at this battle."
I love that.
So there's one guy who knows who he is.
But what I love about he's so quickly able to get all of them kind of be able to work together. I mean, some of them he knew, right? But they get all of them to kind of work how a general Roman phalanx would act.
Yeah.
To defend each other, the defensive part of it, and then to be able to attack. Oh, and he's right. They're going to stay alive together longer if they work as one.
Yeah, and real quick they fall into it. The ones that don't are the first to die.
Yeah,
but after those first few die, everybody else realizes, hey, we need to stick together because the people that are sticking with Maximus are surviving.
And they kind of give it a sense of it. They're all standing around, and chariots come out.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Maximus has this helmet on that covers up most of his face.
Yes.
So that
badass helmet.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But yeah, so that Commodus doesn't recognize him. Yeah. And so nobody else who might know who he is recognizes him. But yeah, so they pretty quickly take out all the chariots.
Yeah, no, they take them over and are able to, they crash some of them. And they just crushed against the walls, or some of them kind of get pulled out. And then
one of the
cut
most well-known movie mistakes is in this scene where the last chariot that they take out, the one that flips on its side and runs into the wall. Right before it hits the wall, for a brief second, you can see the back panel of it break off, and you see the air tank in there that ended up knocking it off, flipping it on its side. The modern air tank.
You get people being stabbed in with helmets and all these things. Maximus, takes control of one of the horses, and he's able to kind of lead the rest of them. He gets back on his horse, right? He's cavalry. He's a horseman. He likes that. Now he's back in the element.
Part of his conversation with Lucius before was he because his new breastplate has 2 horses on it.
Yep.
So he was telling him that, he was pointing to each of the horses and telling him that those are his horses that he has back home in Spain. And that Spain has the best horses.
Yeah. And so they won. They defeated all the people that came in, right? And I love Commodus. He's like, my history's hazy, but thought Carthaginians, yeah, lost, right? And the guy's like, yes, I'm sorry. He's like, no, I like surprises, right? But he likes it because there was a lot of bloodshed. It was bloody.
Yeah. So then,
and he wants to know who that guy was.
He wants to know who that guy was that led everybody to victory.
They call him the Spaniard.
So he decided he wants to meet the Spaniard. So they take Commodus down to the arena, and all the soldiers run out first, and they encircle all the gladiators, and all of them think that they're going to kill him.
I almost forgot. So one of the things they say, as they're preparing them before they get brought out there, is when they see the emperor, right? This was to say, "We who are about to die salute you."
Yeah.
And then, you don't turn your back on the emperor. They give them all these other rules, right?
Yeah.
I love when the emperor comes out. They all say that, except Maximus.
Yep, except Maximus.
But so they come out. They think they're all about to get killed by...
Yeah, because the soldiers completely surround them.
Yep.
And so they think the soldiers are going to kill them because they weren't supposed to win the battle.
And then the emperor comes out and he kind of silences all of it. And he just wants to meet Maximus, right?
Mm-hmm. So he asks someone. And so Maximus sees him walking out, and he kneels down like everybody else does. But he sees an arrow in the ground, a broken arrow. And so he picks it up and sort of hides it behind his hand with the intention of killing Commodus if it comes to it. And then Lucius comes running around.
At this point, if he hadn't been there, he'd been fine just trying to go ahead and kill him. And he killed him and got killed himself in the process.
Yeah, then he'd be with his family again.
Yeah.
But
Lucius came out and he backs off of it. He's not going to deal with him around, right?
So, Commodus asks what his name is, and he says
Gladiator.
Yeah, he says Gladiator, which is the name of the movie. I always love it when they say the name of the movie, especially when it's the name of a character too.
Yes.
But yeah, no, he says his name is Gladiator. He's like, show me your face. Take off your helmet. And so Maximus turns his back on the emperor.
He's like, how dare you turn your back on me?
So he reaches up, pulls off his helmet, and then turns around, shows him his face.
This is his name.
He says his
name.
name.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meritus, father to a murdered son.
No, leader of the armies of Rome, husband to a murdered wife, father to a murdered son, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
And he says that he's the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Yes, and I will have my vengeance
in this life or the next.
Everyone's like, oh no, right? And then Quintus is there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's up.
And meanwhile, Commodus shits a brick.
they fed Brick
just for that
and
scene.
Shout out for this scene. And like all of a sudden, everyone else thinks they're about to die again because of
Yeah.
Because they would have murdered all of them.
Yes, they would have. Rome didn't play around.
But the crowd wants him to live.
Yeah. So.
And because Commodus is still pretty sharp about some things, knows that he can't just kill him right now. He will piss off a lot of Romans.
Yeah. So he gives a thumbs up, which is actually incorrect. As they've found out, as they've discovered,
found out that
since this movie came out, that the thumbs up was actually the bad thing. Yes, it means kill him. Thumbs down meant let him live.
But when this movie was released, I think it was still kind of like
it was still
could have been either one.
Yeah,
and they've kind of settled it.
Yeah, it wasn't really more confirmed until after the movie came out.
Anyway, so and then he's obviously not happy about this. He's like, I thought he was dead. You know, he's talking to Jill. I was like, but maybe they lied to me. They lied to me means they don't respect me. He's being a little bitch about it.
Yep.
It occurred to him, like, you know, maybe you kind of forgot that Maximus is an awesome soldier and might have survived all of it and killed the people that you sent out, and they never return, and no one. Maybe the disrespect part thought, like, oh well, those guys that were supposed to kill Maximus,
they never came back. So either he killed them or they went AWOL. But at the same time, I highly doubt that Commodus pays enough attention to his soldiers to really know which ones he sent out.
Yes, exactly. And that's another great contrast of the two. So, obviously, there needs to be another fight because he's popular. So, he arranges a fight with another former gladiator.
Yes, an undefeated gladiator.
Which they never say, like, was he ever freed or not? And he's just like, you know what, I'll come back and fight this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, they just say that he was undefeated. They don't say...
His name is Tigris of Gaul.
Yes.
Right?
Big dude.
Big dude.
Crazy helmet with a little flip-down face.
Yeah, cool mask, too. Not as badass as it's a gathering there. But anyway, what's not known to Maximus is that there's trapdoors in the Colosseum, right?
Real quick, but before that battle, though, it had the gladiators in their downtime getting their food. They were eating dinner. Right. They had the stew. And now that everybody knows who Maximus is, he goes to get his stew after Djimon Hounsou has his bowl and Hagen has his bowl. And he goes to take a bite, and Djimon Hounsou shakes his head. It's like, don't eat it. Somebody poisoned it. So Hagen takes a big old bite of it and sort of tests it, pretends to be poisoned, and then just starts laughing. And they all start laughing. I
think they all have like this little bit of levity within the situation.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of levity in this movie.
No, there's not. But scenes like that are just they're great. Everybody's just having fun together between matches, and
I'm glad you brought that up. It's good. It's good, and like the movie takes time in between to build in those relationships, which is important because we keep talking about like that's where his strength lies, is his relationship to his men. Yeah,
and especially when we first met Hagen. He was this badass gladiator that, didn't take any shit from anybody. And he was the man. And then after that first battle, he really began to respect Maximus.
Yep. And he kind of follows him now. And what he does.
And, the two of them are buddies now. But yeah. So anyway, so back to the fight with Tigris.
Yeah. So they put tigers in there, and Maximus doesn't know that. So they can spring up in different spots within the Colosseum, just to make it more potentially difficult. And Maximus kills a couple of them, and
Maximus kills one of them because one of them pounces on him.
Yeah,
and as it's jumping up on him, he stabs it, and then keeps stabbing it when it takes him down and pushes it off himself.
Yeah, it gets loose. I mean, they're kind of chains. It's not like they're just running free.
They're chains, but they're chains that are being held by people on the other end, and it slips out of their grip. But so he ends up,
and he looks like that he's like to get defeated. He's like he gets knocked to the ground.
Yeah, he gets knocked to the ground. Picks up Tigris's axe. It's an axe blade on one side, and the other side has sort of a spearhead. stabs him in the foot, just brings it right down on his foot with the spearhead side.
Gosh, it had to hurt.
Yeah. And then stands up, takes his shield, and just smacks him in the chin with it.
Yep.
It was right in his face mask.
And then he sews the little face mask part down, and just sort of blood coming out of his mouth.
Yep. And so knocks him on his back. And so Maximus.
And Commodus is like, shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So he raises up the axe like he's going to chop off his head.
But he looks up at
Commodus. The crowd's cheering. Commodus gives him the thumbs up, or the thumbs down, to tell him to kill him.
It's the crowd's wanting.
And the crowd wants him to kill him. And Maximus throws the axe to the side, doesn't kill him. Then somebody yells out, Maximus! Maximus the Merciful! And the crowd cheers even more.
Yeah. And I love the scene like Proximo sees this, right? It gets back to the scene where he's like, win the crowd and you win your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You see Proximo sees it now that he's got the people on his side.
Yeah.
So and Proximo is a man that also loves Marcus Aurelius.
Yes, because he touched him on the shoulder once.
Right. And he was able to get a lot of money after that because
yes. Because he owns Maximus.
He might live in North Africa, but he's got a lot of money. Anyway, and now, of course, poor Commodus is even more vexed.
Yes, he's vexed. Excellent use of the word vexed in this movie.
Vexed is such a great word, right? It's got B and an X in it. How do you get B and, like Vixen, I guess, but If you could get it in the right spot on Scrabble, you could get some good points. Oh yeah, you gotta get the X on you got somehow
on a triple letter score.
You get a triple letter and triple word score on that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I like this conversation that he has with Lucilla, where he's talking about being merciful and how he's merciful. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same kind of conversation he was having with Marcus Aurelius about his virtues and trying to explain how his form of courage is still courage. But this time it's his mercy is still merciful. And so did you know that the part where he asks Lucilla, am I not merciful? And then he gets in her face and yells it? Yeah. The yell was ad-libbed? No, I didn't know that. Yeah, the yell, from what I understand, was not in the script. And Joaquin Phoenix, just on one of the takes, he was getting into it, and he just decided to yell in her face. So her reaction was real, because she was not expecting him to just shout in her face like that. Interesting. I did not know that. But that's a new one for me. Yeah, I mean, it was an excellent choice. Whether it was actually in the script or not, it was an excellent choice. I read that a while back, so I don't know any full confirmation that that's the case with it, but that's what I had read about it. He's a brilliant actor. Yeah. So I wouldn't put it past him. He knows the right thing. Yeah. And so you have Maximus winning the mob now with the crowd. I kind of forgot to mention this. He's leaving after this, right? Because he had met with Lucilla and Gracchus. Right. Well, first he discovers that Cicero is alive, right? Oh, yes. Cicero found him, right? Cicero found him and gave him his Penates back. So he's kind of being as the middle person between him and Lucilla. That's how they're able to kind of get Gracchus to meet with him. Yeah. They kind of now they're starting to plot. Yeah. So now, after his most recent battle in the Colosseum, they have a plan. Right, because what Maximus learns from Cicero is that his men are still loyal to him. Yes, his men are still loyal to him, and so Maximus sends him to have them gather not far away, and he will meet them, and then they'll take Rome. And Gracchus agrees to kind of the plot, so he's going to help kind of arrange certain aspects of it to kind of fall into place. He's going to arrange to buy Maximus's freedom. Yes, that's what. Yeah. So that Maximus can go get his army and then come back, take out Commodus, and then hand Rome over to the Senate. And at this point, Proxima is not in on the plot, but he kind of goes in onto it because he affects Maximus.
again, it gets back to his love of Aurelius.
Yeah.
I like the line. Max was like, "Are you about to become a good man?"
Yeah.
Right?
Are you in danger of becoming a good man? Something like that.
Yeah, are you in danger of becoming a good man? So,
and they kind of just have a laugh about that.
Unfortunately, what they don't know about yet, is that Lucilla had given Commodus a tonic to kind of calm him down after Maximus defeated Tigris. And then he wakes up, and Lucius is there. He's fighting against one of the servants with swords and being trained, and joins on. And unfortunately, he kind of lets out a little bit of the plot. Yeah. He learns the plot a little bit.
No, it's not that Lucius learned out the plot. It's that Commodus goes up to Lucius and says, "It's a little too early to be playing Legionnaire, isn't it?" He's like, "I'm not a Legionnaire. I'm Maximus, the savior of Rome."
Oh yeah, right.
And then lets it slip that that's what his mother calls Maximus.
Oh, that's what it is. That's right. Thank you. And so he doesn't know all of what that means yet, but he sits in this very creepy way with him, with Chill there. That's brother, sister, and then nephew, right?
Sitting on Commodus, Lucius is on Commodus's lap, and he's telling him the story of Cleopatra and how she killed herself by allowing an asp to bite her in the breast.
No, that was the other senator saying how it was that snake that stays silent and allows it to be bitten, right? Oh, maybe it's different in the extended edition.
No, because he's talking about the snake. He's talking about because that's what leads them into the snake conversation. Because they're talking about Cleopatra killing herself by allowing an asp to bite her in the breast, and then he starts talking about there's another kind of snake.
That's right.
And this snake, it's a water snake, a sea snake. It'll sit at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. And it'll pretend like it's wounded, and fish will come up and nibble at it, and it won't move.
Yeah, and then
nibble at it. Then it eventually attack the fish. So the whole time he's strongly implying that he knows what Lucilla is up to.
Basically, she spills
and
the beans.
She is the snake.
Happening. So we cut into the kind of Gladiator barracks. Well, Gracchus gets arrested. Then cut in the Gladiator barracks, and now the Legion is coming to arrest Maximus, right? But Proximo trying to stall them out, so Maximus can escape. This is actually where he says, "Are you in danger of becoming?"
Yes, that is the part, because he tells him that he's got his armor waiting for him by the exit, and he's helping him escape. And that's when he's like, "Are you in danger of becoming a good man?" Unfortunately,
this is where Hagen dies because they tear down the gates.
Yeah. And all the other gladiators decide they're gonna, because they're following Maximus, so they're wanting to help him. So he tells them, "Don't just give up your lives. I don't need to stall that long. So don't don't just throw away your lives to protect me." So Hagen ends up dying like spoiler alert for Lord of the Rings, like Boromir in Fellowship. Becomes a pincushion.
Yeah. They kill Proximo. They stab him. He gets sword stuck through him. He has a wooden sword that Marcus Aurelius gave him. This is one of the scenes where he's with DGI.
And Maximus escapes out the back door, sees Cicero on a horse. And he calls out to him. Or he whistles to him, and Cicero calls out and apologizes. And then the horse goes running off, and Cicero is left hanging from a tree.
And then they shoot him with some arrows. And then the rest of he gets obviously captured.
No, they surround him, and he's about to fight, and then he makes a deal that he'll go with them quietly if they let his men go.
That's right.
So they do, and he drops his sword, and we have Maximus tied up at the Colosseum.
Right. And, Commodus figures, why not a battle? It makes sense. He's this great gladiator. Of course, he'd want to fight the emperor. Right. Of course, Commodus needs to rig it.
Yep. So he goes down there and talks with
their approval back.
Yep. So he talks with Maximus, goes to give him a hug, takes out a dagger and stabs him in the lung.
Yeah.
Stabs him right between his ribs and his back, right into his lung, and then tells Quintus to put his armor on and conceal the wound. And then
what I like about the scene too, it's this whole scene, it's almost like these brothers, right? Because again, they both looked up towards Aurelius, and now I guess it's Crowe and brothers, right? Romulus and Remus.
And so
anyway,
before
conversation,
before we get into what happens after their conversation, there is one part that we didn't mention before. One of the bonding scenes between Maximus and Djimon Hounsou.
Yes.
So Djimon Hounsou is asking him about his family, and
yeah, I like when we talk about the families.
Yeah, and so Maximus explains that they're dead, that they're in Elysium, and he's so Djimon Hounsou tells him, "You'll see them again, but not yet."
Yeah, they're like not yet.
So
he asks him what he says to them too, and he talks about how he tells his son to keep his heels up, and
keep his heels down when he's riding his horse. And what he says to his wife is none of your business.
Not for him to know.
Because that's that was when because Maximus was holding his little family gods, the ones that represented his wife and son, and so Djimon Hounsou was asking him about them, and that's what sparked that whole conversation.
He will see his family again. He says they're out there somewhere.
They're back in Africa, and he's like, well, I probably won't see them in this life, but I will see them again, but not yet. Just like you'll see your family again, but not yet. Not yet. And again, like we haven't talked about a lot, but their whole relationship is great. I'm glad that Djimon Hounsou later get like the appreciation that he needs. He later got nominated for some Oscars himself. Yeah.
So he's become a very good. He became kind of helped establish him as a character actor.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to Commodus and Maximus's conversation just before their gladiator match. So Commodus stabs Maximus, tells Quintus to conceal the wound under his armor, and they go out to the arena.
Before that, so there's a line that actually was said by Marcus Aurelius that makes it into this movie.
Oh yes.
Now it's not exact, but it's kind of like a paraphrase of it. They're kind of talking about, I guess Commodus is kind of taken back, I guess you could say. And Maximus says, wise man once says, death smiles at us all. All we can smile back. And Commodus is like,
yeah, that's another great line.
Did your friend smile before his death? This was like, you should know he was your father.
Mm-hmm.
And then he stabs him.
And then
he goes in for the hug.
Then he tells him, yes, he goes in for a hug, stabs him in the back, and then he tells him that his whore of a wife.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Screamed as they ravaged her again and again and again.
That his son
squealed
like a pig when they
squealed like a girl when they nailed him to the cross.
Yeah. Also, it was probably a bad idea.
Yeah. So then they go up to the arena and they have their fight. Mm-hmm. And because Maximus is fighting with a major handicap, because he can't breathe, because he took a dagger through the lung.
The lung.
He's sort of stumbling around. And so it's a somewhat even match. For the most part. At the beginning of it. But so Maximus ends up disarming Commodus. And so he calls out to Quintus to give him a sword. Quintus won't give him a sword. So he goes to the soldiers that are around. Tells one of them to give him a sword. They all start to pull their swords out of their sheaths. And Quintus yells out, "Sheathe your swords."
Quintus is smart here. He knows Maximus is probably going to beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
Stay in somewhat favor,
Yeah. But yeah, so then Commodus reveals a dagger that he had in his sleeve.
Yep.
He pulls it out and tries to stab Maximus with it. Maximus just beats the crap out of him.
It's glorious.
He just gives him a beating.
Beats him like a little. Anyway, beats him like a rag doll.
Yeah. And then finally, Commodus starts swinging his dagger at him.
Gets his arm.
Yeah, and Maximus he catches his arm and bends his elbow in, ends up making Commodus stab himself in the throat.
I love how it's cool, but it's always unceremonious too. It's like he doesn't deserve this grand death. He just drops dead.
Yep.
And it's just silent.
Yep. So
and now Maximus, he's starting to see, those visions of like the grain again.
And he sees his family standing off in the distance.
And he kind of hears Maximus and it's Quintus, right?
And he wakes up and he opens his eyes and then he
gives orders to Quintus.
Yes, he gives orders to Quintus. He repeats Marcus Aurelius, and there was a dream that was Rome. Give the power to the Senate.
And then, he releases men, which, it's all the different gladiators that were there, including, Hounsou, and then Gracchus. And then, finally comes and he's talking with him, and he says that, there's unsafe now, right?
Yep.
And she can tell he's dying, right?
Yep.
She's just, go to them, right?
Yep.
Now, she doesn't want him to die, obviously, because
but
she loves him. She loves her husband, too, and now they're both dead.
So she tells him, go to them, go to your family.
Right.
And
so he dies.
He closes his eyes and he dies.
He says, he was a soldier of Rome. Honor him.
Rather, no, right? I guess he doesn't close his eyes and dies because Djimon Hounsou closes his eyes for him. But,
yes.
But he dies.
And honor him. And then, Gracchus goes like, you will help me carry him. Right. And a bunch of them come and carry him. And they carry him off.
Steps forward. And some of the soldiers step forward. Lucius steps up there.
They all walk off into the bowels, the Colosseum. And no one goes and gets Commodus.
Commodus just laying there rotting. Just rotting on the ground. Yep, they just leave him there. Meanwhile, we see
they're just marching off, and his body's just there.
Yep. And then we see him. We see Maximus. It's actually like a full shot of Maximus in the wheat field, running his hands through the wheat, walking up toward his family. You see his son, sees him, gets excited, starts running toward him.
Yep, wife smiles. They're reunited. It's good. That's the thing you wanted. The entire thing. It's back together. The appropriate thing for him to be back with his family.
Yeah. And then you have a little.
He tells his men in the beginning of the movie, imagine what it will be, and it will be so. He's imagined to be back with them.
Yeah. So. And then there's a little epilogue with Djimon Hounsou.
Always nice.
Walking back out into the Colosseum.
He has his little family gods.
Yes. He's got the little pouch with the family gods in it, and he digs a little hole and buries them. And then he talks to Maximus. He says, I will see you again. But not yet. Not yet.
The music scores. I love the music.
The music was amazing in this movie.
Hans Zimmer did the score.
Yes.
Fantastic. And I believe he won the Oscar for this. One Best Picture, one Best Actor, won 5 awards. I think this was one of them. I have to take a look. Yeah, that's the movie. But the music is just excellent.
Yeah, the music was excellent in this movie. It's funny. Back when I was in Taekwondo, so my instructor would, anytime we had belt ceremonies and stuff, in order to sort of set the mood, he'd always have music playing. And there were 2 CDs that he would pull from every time.
Yeah.
Basically one track from each CD. They were the soundtrack for The Rock. That opening music that plays at the beginning of that movie. Yeah. And then Gladiator. It was the opening music from Gladiator. Because they were just because he saw them as just good music to play while everybody's sitting there, waiting to receive their belts. But yeah.
So Hounsou did not win the Oscar. He was nominated. He was nominated for 12 awards. Like I said, it was Best Picture.
Yeah, it won 5 of them,
Best Director. Not Best Director. I'm sorry. Steven Soderbergh won Best Director. Traffic. Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Costume Design, Best Sound, and Best Visual Effects. It's Gladiator. I'm glad I watched it. It's probably been it's been about 2 years since I probably watched it.
Yeah,
I watched it.
It's been probably 4 or 5 years for me.
The movie I try to watch often.
Yeah. I definitely need to watch it more often. But
it's such an easy movie to watch. It's funny. It's kind of funny how quickly it moves still.
Yeah.
It takes
It's
about 40 minutes, 45 minutes to plot.
yeah,
But once it's there, it's off and running. And there's 40 or 45 minutes of not dead, obviously. Like it's
no,
the whole
but
battle,
it's
great conversation.
it's a little over two
It's
and a half hours
all
long.
establishing the characters.
Yeah,
And it's full of actually some like kind of funny, like they did a good job balancing kind of newer actors, like like again, like it's one of Joaquin Phoenix's kind of breakout roles, and Djimon Hounsou, right? But then the kind of like the classic actors like Richard Harris, Oliver Reed, Derek Jacobi. I've always loved the movie. And one of the things that I guess that I kind of always associate with it, you talk about the extended cut, and even before they did the extended cut, the original DVD had like deleted scenes, which has a lot of what's in the extended cut.
Yeah.
Right? They don't call it director's cut, it's just an extended cut.
No, because so the extended cut, the one that I was watching, had the option of watching it with an intro with Ridley Scott.
Yes.
And it's just a very brief, like 20-second intro where all it is Ridley Scott saying, "You're about to watch the extended cut of Gladiator. This is not the director's cut. The director's cut is what you saw in the theater. So you've probably seen that one already. But this is the version with a few extra scenes that I thought you might like."
Yeah.
That was the whole intro.
He's such an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's funny when I think about like now, it's funny. I know a lot of you now probably don't think about DVDs, Blu-rays as much. You just, download whatever it is or you stream it. But like when I kind of think of when DVDs are first catching on, Gladiator is one of the first DVDs I can really think about.
Yeah. And like
I can think about the menus and all the special features, especially like deleted scenes and commentaries. There's little featurettes about, oh, this is how we made these costumes, right?
Yeah, and I've always been, and I always will be, a proponent for the physical media of movies. So like
absolutely.
I was watching it on the 4K Blu-ray that I own. So and especially with a movie like this, with the visuals that it has, you can stream things in 4K, but it's still going to look better if you're watching it off a disc because it's not compressed like the digital, streaming version is. It doesn't have that compression, or at least as much of it. So it's always going to look better if you're watching it off a disc.
Oh yeah.
Especially movies like this that have all the visuals and all the detail.
Probably one of the first 4 or 5 DVDs that I owned. So I watched a lot of it, which is probably part of the reason why I really love the movie. Yeah, just being cool, great, everything. So yeah, it's a good example of a movie that helps, like you were saying, that it's a good argument for the actual possession of physical media. Yeah, I will die on that hill myself. Own actual.
I mean, yeah, the digital versions of movies are great. I have a lot of digital movies too. But if I'm going to watch a movie that I own the physical disc for, then I'm most likely going to be watching the actual disc. If I'm at home, if I'm away from home, then sure, I'll stream the digital version. But,
right. That's parts like, especially if you travel a lot.
Yeah.
You're at a hotel, you're on a plane, you're at your parents' house, whatever it might be.
Or even, if I'm sitting in my living room, I'm just feeling too lazy to get up out of my chair and get up out of my comfy lazy boy and walk over to the shelf and pick out the movie and put it in the player.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, that's Gladiator.
Excellent movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it. It is totally worth it. It is an amazing movie.
Yes.
Brilliantly acted, brilliantly directed, brilliantly scored.
Yeah, just all around, everything is, and like you were saying, even like the effects, like they're not the most groundbreaking effects, but still holds up well enough. To try to recreate ancient Rome the best that they can.
Yeah.
I mean, just other sets, the costumes and like the sets there, at the beginning of the movie in Germania. Anyway, it's terrific. Really catapulted Russell Crowe into bigger stardom at the time. Just a very iconic character.
Yeah.
It's so quotable. It's funny. You think a lot of quotable movies as being comedies in a lot of ways. But
Yeah,
a movie
this
like
one
this
is
also very cool.
It's very quotable. Very quotable. So, what are we doing next, Tony?
A similar movie from a few years earlier, Braveheart.
Yep, we are going to be doing the Mel Gibson classic Braveheart, which it's for some reason, I don't know what it is, but when I think of Braveheart or when I think of Gladiator, Braveheart goes hand in hand with it.
It does.
They're sitting next to each other on my shelf. They're paired together in a combo pack on Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's easy to think of Braveheart and the Patriot going together because it's Mel Gibson as like a freedom type fighter. But I guess that's where you can get the Gladiator mix in. But I always kind of think of Gladiator and Braveheart being more closely linked. So Braveheart and Patriot.
Yeah. So when we decided on Gladiator for this one, it was only logical that we do Braveheart next.
Yes.
Another historical epic that is not totally historically accurate, but that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's also got a lot of blood.
It's got real life people, like actual people that lived back in the day that are represented by the actors, but it's not a completely true story.
That's okay. It just wants it, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson. So. Mm-hmm. Whatever faults he might have. Anyway. I'm looking forward to it because that's another movie. It's probably been a little bit longer since I've seen Braveheart.
Me too. It's been a few years since I've seen Braveheart, and I'm really looking forward to watching it again.
It's longer than Gladiator.
Yes, it is. It's about 3 hours long. Back when it was on VHS, it was 2 tapes.
2 tapes.
There was that, and Gone with the Wind, and Titanic.
And I would say Titanic.
Those were all 2-tape movies.
Apparently,
and Gettysburg also.
Memory of a commercial for Kmart that talked about Ghost being on 2 tapes also.
Really?
Yes.
Ghost? I didn't think that one was long enough to be on 2 tapes.
I didn't think so either, but I have this memory of a Kmart commercial. Like Dances with Wolves, that would be 2 tapes.
Yeah.
Like that same time frame as Ghost.
Yeah.
Schindler's List.
Although I think Dances with Wolves was just 1 tape, though. Because we owned Dances with Wolves growing up, and I think it was just 1 tape.
It's like a 3-hour movie. Oh.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah, my family owned it when I was growing up, and I think I remember it being just 1 tape. I could be wrong, but I think I remember it just being 1 tape.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Anyway, we'll do Braveheart next. And probably compare them a little bit. And
as mentioned earlier, Tommy Flanagan was in Braveheart also. So there's at least one actor that's one common actor between the two. And so join us next time when we delve into Braveheart. We will see you then.